Hey everybody, Frank here, Godzilla Island, with a little review of the graphic novel Henshin. This is a graphic novel put out by Saturday AM. The artist and story is done by Bon Idol. It's a graphic novel done in a manga fashion in the way it's presented. It's not a back to front type style manga, but let's call it we'll call it a manga, sort of graphic novel. But let's get into it. I really absolutely enjoyed this book. It's a great setup for this series going forward. It follows our main character, Alex Nolan, who's a journalism student living in Hollowstone, which is a fictional city. What happened in Hollowstone is there was a EMP explosion that kind of plunged the city into this just messiness. It was just chaos, crime everywhere. And then this really rich tech billionaire, Alton Graves, came in and kind of just rejuvenated the city, became the hero. But Alex seems to think that Alton has a little more to his agenda. He thinks he's not the hero that everybody believes he is, and that ties into the story here. Overall, like I said, absolutely fantastic setup book. We get a lot of Henshin action here, some Kaiju action. At the end, our hero faces a massive Kaiju. And it's absolutely leaves a setup for the sequel, which I know is in the works. When I finished this, I was like, wow, I could totally see this first book being done like a TV pilot. If they were to make an anime, they could totally pull it off for this book. Let's get into the review now. I'm going to get spoilers and dump a lot on you here, guys. I'm not going to get too intense because this is a thick book here, but I'm just going to go over some quick plot points that are a little spoilerish. If you want to check this out, I really recommend it. Check it out, Henshin. It's on Amazon, but prepare yourselves. Here comes the spoilers for this review. So let's get into it. We have 10 chapters in this book. Like I said, I'm not going to get too crazy detailed on this, but I'm going to try to do a quick brief overview of this story here. So here comes the spoilers now, everyone. So we have a quick look at the EMP explosion from 9 years prior to this story that plunged Hollowstone into its long night era before tech billionaire Alton Graves showed up to save the day with his electric cars, cell phones, social media, TV channels, everything. And then here we have a look at Alex Nolan, our main character here. He's a third-year journalist student, 21 years old, and his best friend, Rosalia Ortega, who is also a journalism student on her third year. They're kind of talking about what their papers are. Alex gives his story, basically, which is the introduction of Hollowstone and Alton Graves, and he thinks Alton is behind a lot of the bad things that have happened. And Rosalie is like, yeah, that's story, not a story people want to hear. Everyone thinks he's a hero. She's like a crazy cryptid fan. She talks about all like aliens, monsters in the night, and she brings up this superhero here that appears at night to fight monsters, and when people go to see it the next day, all record of it's eliminated from the internet. The destruction's cleaned up perfectly fine and whatever. And he goes, yeah, that sounds a little far-fetched. So we'll soon see later on he runs into his, I wouldn't call him an ex, but sort of a crush, John Jay. They went out on a couple of dates. It didn't work out. There was just like no communication there. They felt awkward, but they still seem to kind of like each other here. So fast forward, he's in his class and he's getting placed in his exam. Well, he was supposed to fill out his placement. for his journalism internship, but he didn't get it, so he's kind of getting put wherever. So he gets on the train, takes the ride home, and all of a sudden the train stops, and it kind of like gets stopped on its tracks, and there's a big explosion, and a kaiju appears along with the hero. We don't get this hero's name, but the hero begins fighting the monster, and Alex just seems to be helping everybody kind of get out of the train. The doors get stuck, and he's helping people that are hurt. And the hero's like, "Oh, thanks a lot. You did a really good job. You did your part. Now get out of here." And then, boom, the kaiju appears. That's the end of that chapter. The kaiju appears, and the hero begins fighting him. We had a cool action sequence. The hero uses cool Tenrai Jujirai, the heavenly cross spear, and he seemingly thinks he's going to defeat the kaiju. It explodes. He's alright. Alex is helping more people that are hurt, and the kaiju pops back up, blasts the hero, and Alex springs into action, and he goes to help the hero. And Alex is like, "There's got to be something I can do to help you." The hero's got like a hole blown in his chest, and he's like, "Alright, you've shown that you're kind of a cool guy. You seem like a really good person ever since I've shown up on scene. You haven't evacuated like I told you to, and you do what's right." And he hands him a capsule that is going to be his Henshin device. It's like it literally looks like a spark plug. I forgot what they called it. I'll get to that in a little. But it's like his Henshin device. He pulls it, says Henshin, and he becomes what they soon call the Blazing Pheonix, which is the subtitle of this. It's actually not written on the book, but online it is called that. Henshin, right here, Volume 1, Blazing Pheonix. So Alex transforms. He's not familiar with fighting, but he still manages to defeat the kaiju. He throws a couple of fists. He feels so powerful. He pulls out this Caliburn sword, which is his special weapon, whereas the other hero had a cross spear, similar to almost like Redman, the cross spear. The cross spear is very popular. Ultramans use a cross spear. Defeats the kaiju. The hero disappears that gave Alex his powers, which is kind of odd. He doesn't really get to ask more questions. And we see Alton Graves here is kind of overlooking it. And we are already on chapter 4. Alex is kind of like zoned out the whole time. Rosalia is like, "Hey, what's going on? What's going on?" Not really answering. He's just in a daze. He runs into another kaiju, but he kind of like senses this time, almost like a spidey sense. And what the hero told him is, if you don't defeat the kaiju quick enough, they just keep getting stronger the longer they're in our dimension or field here. So he fights this one, and he seemingly defeats it pretty quick. He does the whole Blazing Pheonix things. The Ray Kaiju is what they call themselves. And he slashes the guy up pretty quick. And the thing is, he does the transformation right in front of Rosalia after he was told not to tell her. So Rosalia is like, "Alright, I'm going to investigate this more." She's like into the whole Alton thing. Alex goes to his little internship, and Jai's there also at the place that everyone considered the last place you want to be. But he's like, "This is where real journalism is. I don't want to work for a magazine." He's like, "These people are writing real local stories, yada yada." They go out, and once again another kaiju appears, and this time a dark figure appears and kind of stops the fight and begins to fight Alex. Well, he's overlooking the fight. Alex fights the kaiju. He appears towards the end of the fight. This is where he interferes with the fight. He kind of gives Alex a whipping and says, you know what, you should just stop what you're doing. You don't know what you're fighting for. And this villain is called Omen, I believe. It's been a couple of days since I read this. Yeah, Omen. He's the dark Henshin being that I called him. And he whoops Alex pretty good in this fight. And Alex is beat up. Next day, he's talking to Rosalia. She's icing him up. And he goes to work, and Jai's like, what happened to you? He's like, I got hurt visiting my grandma on her birthday. And he's like, what were you doing with your grandma? He's like, she's really into dancing and I got hurt. Which is a pretty lame excuse. And they seem to really be hitting it off on the train ride home. They have a little bump into each other. And it's like, this relationship thing with the two of them might work again. Meanwhile, Rosalia, against Alex's orders, decide to sneak into one of the clubs run by mobsters in the city. So Alex goes to save her. In the next chapter, he goes through the club, can't find her, figures, I gotta get to the back room. He henshins, busts the door down, and saves Rosalia. But while at the club, fighting these thugs, Omen appears again. And we get another fight, but this time Alex's sword gets the edge on him and gives him a nice kick in the face. Omen kind of gets annoyed with that, still gives him a good little beating, but then this time a massive kaiju appears. This is for the final act. This thing's huge, really cool looking. Alex, when he viewed the other hero, he's like, the Kaiju's plates were really tight. It was hard to get a hit in, find a weak spot. But now that it was big, the plates were really big. And Alex was actually able to defeat this Kaiju really easily because the gaps between its armor were so big now that the Kaiju was big. Quickly defeats the Kaiju. He goes back to his internship the next day. And what do we see? We see Jai here with a bandage on his face where Omen got kicked, and you sort of speculate that right off the bat that Jai's Omen, and then we get almost like a little after post-credit scene here, and it's like you got this whole dark council that's kind of running everything in the city like an Illuminati, and we see Jai here with the Henshin device. And he transforms into Omen in the final page. So Alex's love interest is also the villain of the book, or one of the villains. Who knows if he will turn to good in the second issue, but he seems to know what he wants to do, and it's not good. So I'm really looking forward to volume 2 of this. Bon Idol did a fantastic job. Like I said, I extremely highly recommend this. If you're a Kamen Rider fan, Power Rangers fan, Ultraman fan, this is the book for you guys. So thanks for watching. Check it out. Hope you enjoy.